Captain Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Ganymede station, watching the gleaming vessels of the Galactic assembly drift past. Their hulls sparkled with crystalline matrices and quantum barriers, a stark contrast to the utilitarian Earth ships below. 6 months had passed since humanity's acceptance into the assembly, and the initial excitement had faded into a quiet resignation. "Another rejection, Captain." Station Director Matthews appeared beside her, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced window. Sarah nodded, her dark eyes fixed on a passing assembly cruiser. "Apparently, Earth's credentials don't meet their minimum requirements for technology transfer. They suggested we focus on developing our chemical propulsion systems further." The bitterness in her voice was carefully measured. "The assembly has their protocols," Matthews said, though his tone suggested he shared her frustration. "Every species has to climb the technological ladder at their own pace." Sarah turned from the window, her expression shifting from resignation to determination. "That's what interests me, Director. They're so focused on their ladder, they never consider alternative routes up the cliff." She activated her neural interface, projecting a holographic manifest into the space between them. The document was written in standard assembly notation, but Sarah had annotated it extensively with Earth standard notations. "The decommissioning list." Matthews raised an eyebrow. "Those ships are headed for molecular reclamation. Even if we could afford one, the assembly wouldn't sell to us. We're not cleared for." "Look at lot number 47 beta," Sarah interrupted, expanding the entry. The hologram showed a vessel unlike the others. Where modern assembly ships were all smooth curves and crystalline surfaces, this one bore distinct plates and visible weapon mounts. The Star Wanderer, last of the Horizon-class deep space vessels. They're practically giving it away because no modern crew will serve on such an outdated platform. Matthews studied the specifications, his eyes widening. "This design, it's from before the assembly standardized their quantum architecture. The neural interfacing would be primitive, by their standards," Sarah finished, "but infinitely more adaptable. Our research shows their early quantum systems resonate with human neural patterns at nearly twice the efficiency of modern designs. They engineered out what they saw as instability, and engineered out compatibility with human consciousness in the process." Matthews whispered, "Have you tested this theory?" Sarah's smile widened. "Remember that calibration malfunction during the diplomatic reception last month? I interfaced with their museum display. The old systems, they feel different. It's like they're waiting for someone to speak their language." Matthews fell silent, considering the implications. Around them, the station hummed with activity as Earth tried to find its place among the stars. "The assembly considers us children, barely worth noticing," he said finally. "But children are remarkably good at seeing things adults miss." Sarah closed the hologram. "I secured private funding. A consortium of Earth's independent colonies. They're tired of waiting for assembly approval to expand their operations. All I need is your station's cooperation in receiving and retrofitting the vessel. If the assembly discovers we're modifying their technology, they won't be looking. Not at us." Sarah's confidence was infectious. No one pays attention to children playing with discarded toys. Matthews looked once more at the majestic assembly ships passing by, then at the practical Earth vessels below. Finally, he turned back to Sarah. "Submit the paperwork as a research initiative. We'll classify it as a historical engineering study." Sarah nodded, already calculating her next moves. As she left the observation deck, her neural interface pinged with the first transfer of funds. Soon, the Star Wanderer would arrive, not as the obsolete relic the assembly believed it to be, but as humanity's first step toward proving they belonged among the stars. They might be starting at the bottom of the assembly's technological ladder, but Sarah Chen had no intention of climbing it. She and her crew would forge their own path, starting with a ship that the galaxy had forgotten, and the possibilities that only humanity could see. The Star Wanderer's bridge hummed with a resonance that Sarah Chen had never experienced on any Earth vessel. 3 weeks of retrofitting had transformed the abandoned assembly ship into something unique, neither purely alien nor entirely human. Her crew of 15 had spent countless hours integrating Earth's neural interface technology with the ship's quantum systems, and the results exceeded even her optimistic predictions. Neural synchronization at 68%. Lieutenant Raj Patel reported from the operations console. His dark fingers danced across holographic controls that responded to both touch and thought. That's nearly triple what modern assembly ships manage with human pilots. Sarah nodded, feeling the ship's systems through her neural link. Where assembly interfaces felt rigid and structured, this connection flowed like water. Status of the mining outpost beacon. Still silent, Maya Rodriguez answered from tactical. The young officer frowned at her displays. But I'm getting some odd readings from the quantum sensors. They don't match any known signature patterns. Modern assembly ships in the area report all clear, Raj added. They're suggesting we return to standard patrol routes. Sarah closed her eyes, letting the Star Wanderer's older quantum sensors feed data directly into her consciousness. The ship's original designers had considered these sensors primitive, lacking the precision of modern arrays. But there was something about their broader spectrum analysis that... Her eyes snapped open. Hard about. Take us closer to the outpost. The bridge crew responded instantly, the ship's hybrid systems translating their commands with unprecedented speed. As they approached the outpost's last known position, the strange readings intensified. Getting something on visual, Maya announced, projecting a magnified image. The outpost appeared intact, but surrounding it was a faint distortion, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Assembly patrol ships still show nothing unusual, Raj reported. They're asking why we've deviated from course. Sarah studied the distortion, letting the Star Wanderer's quantum core process the data through both its original algorithms and the new human neural patterns. Suddenly, the seemingly random readings crystallized into a coherent pattern in her mind. It's a temporal wake, she breathed. The outpost exists in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Modern sensors are too precise. They only see one state at a time. But our primitive systems... See the overlap, Raj finished, understanding dawning on his face. The outpost is phasing between dimensions. Sarah's fingers flew across her command interface. Maya, reconfigure the main deflector. We need to match the quantum frequency of that wake. She sent the calculations directly through her neural link, the ship's hybrid systems translating her intuitive understanding into precise adjustments. The Star Wanderer's deck plates vibrated as energy coursed through systems that hadn't been active in decades. On the main viewer, the distortion around the outpost became more pronounced. Assembly ships are ordering us to withdraw, Raj warned. They're detecting dangerous energy fluctuations. Fluctuations they can't properly scan, Sarah corrected. Deflector at full power. Maya, send out a broad-spectrum quantum pulse on my mark. The tactical officer nodded, her hand steady despite the tension. Around them, the Star Wanderer's hull creaked as it channeled energies it was never designed to handle. Mark. A brilliant beam of energy erupted from the ship's deflector, intersecting with the temporal wake. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the distortion began to collapse in on itself, revealing a sleek device anchored to the outpost's main power core. Unknown technology detected, Maya reported, excitement creeping into her professional tone. It's some kind of quantum phase generator, definitely not assembly design. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Download all sensor data. The assembly may not believe what their own ships couldn't detect, but they can't ignore empirical evidence. She opened a channel to the outpost. This is Captain Chen of the Star Wanderer. We're reading major power fluctuations in your systems. Request permission to send a technical team to assist with repairs. As the outpost controller gratefully accepted their help, Sarah exchanged knowing looks with her bridge crew. They had just proved that the Star Wanderer's outdated technology, combined with human intuition, could perceive things that the assembly's advanced ships missed entirely. The real question was, who had planted that phase generator, and why? The distress call reached Star Wanderer during third shift. Maya Rodriguez, still on tactical, jolted upright as multiple emergency beacons activated simultaneously across 3 sectors. "Captain to the bridge," she called, already routing data to the command station. Sarah Chen arrived moments later, her neural interface synchronizing with the ship's systems before she reached her chair. "Status report. Assembly commercial convoy under attack," Maya responded. 5 bulk carriers and their escort. Systems going dark one by one. She paused, checking readings. 3 assembly response vessels already on scene. But what? They're not responding to hails either. Sarah studied the tactical display, watching as ship after ship winked into darkness. The Star Wanderer was the closest vessel capable of responding, but protocol dictated they wait for proper assembly military support. "Time to intercept," she asked, already knowing she wouldn't follow that protocol. 18 minutes at maximum safe speed, Raj answered, arriving at his station. "Assembly reinforcements are 40 minutes out." Sarah nodded. "Take us in." "Maya, start analyzing those sensor readings. I want to know what we're dealing with before we get there." The Star Wanderer's hybrid drive systems engage, pushing the old ship to speeds its original designers never intended. Through her neural link, Sarah felt the quantum core adapting to the strain, its ancient architecture proving remarkably flexible under human guidance. "Energy signatures from the attack site are strange," Maya reported. "Similar to the phase generator we found, but more complex. It's like they're operating on multiple quantum frequencies simultaneously." "Can you isolate them?" "Negative. Modern assembly ships would have better resolution, but..." Maya trailed off as new data came in. "Captain, the assembly response ships. They're intact, but their quantum systems have been completely desynchronized. They're trapped in a cascading feedback loop." Sarah leaned forward. "And their crews? Life support is functioning. They're alive but unable to restore power. Their neural interfaces are locked. Because modern assembly systems can't handle quantum instability," Sarah murmured. "They engineered out that capability generations ago. But we..." She opened a shipwide channel. "All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for possible quantum turbulence. Engineering, route emergency power to the neural interface buffers." The Star Wanderer dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the convoy's last known position. The scene before them was eerily still. 3 assembly response ships drifted powerless among the scattered bulk carriers. A sleek vessel of unknown design moved between them, methodically attaching devices to their hulls. "Unknown vessel approaching," Maya warned. "They're activating their quantum disruptors." Sarah felt the attack through her neural link, waves of chaotic quantum energy designed to overwhelm and desynchronize advanced systems. But where modern assembly ships would have shut down, the Star Wanderer's older architecture adapted. Human neural patterns, inherently more flexible than assembly AI, rode out the quantum turbulence. "We're still operational," Raj reported, surprise and pride in his voice. "Their disruptors aren't calibrated for our hybrid systems. Target their propulsion," Sarah ordered. "Let's show them what this old ship can do." The Star Wanderer's weapons might have been considered obsolete by assembly standards, but they worked perfectly well against an enemy expecting only modern defenses. Their first volley caught the attacker by surprise, forcing them to break off from the disabled convoy. "They're running," Maya announced as the unknown ship vanished into faster-than-light travel. "Should we pursue?" Sarah shook her head. "Begin rescue operations. Prioritize getting those crews out of their locked neural interfaces." She studied the devices attached to the assembly ship's hulls. "And download everything we can about their technology. I want to know who has access to quantum phase generators this advanced." As her crew coordinated the rescue effort, Sarah received a priority message from an Assembly Science Council representative named Dr. Lyra. The message was brief but intriguing. "Captain Chen, your ship's performance was unexpected. We should talk about quantum resonance patterns in human neural architecture, privately. Sarah smiled. The Star Wanderer had just proven itself on an interstellar stage. Now it was time to find out who else had been watching. Dr. Lyra's laboratory aboard the assembly science vessel Eternal Inquiry was unlike anything Sarah had seen before. Quantum processors lined the walls, their crystalline matrices pulsing with complex calculations. The assembly scientist herself stood before a holographic display of the Star Wanderer's sensor logs, her iridescent scales shifting colors as she processed the data. Fascinating, Lyra murmured, manipulating the display with precise gestures. Your ship's quantum resonance patterns shouldn't be possible. The neural integration alone defies conventional theory. Human minds are adaptable, Sarah offered, watching as the scientist dissected their encounter with the unknown vessel. We work well with imperfect systems. Perhaps that's why. Lyra paused, seeming to debate something internally. Captain Chen, what do you know about the Great Collapse? The period 3,000 years ago, when the assembly lost contact with their outer colonies. Sarah raised an eyebrow. It's mentioned in the historical archives you shared with Earth. Mentioned, yes. Explained, no. Lyra's scales flickered to a deep blue. The official records say it was a natural phenomenon, a cascade of quantum instabilities that severed faster-than-light communications. But these readings from your encounter, she gestured at the display. They're identical to archived data from the collapse. Sarah felt her neural link pulse with increased activity as the Star Wanderer's systems processed this information. You're saying this wasn't a random attack. Someone has recovered lost assembly technology. Or perhaps it never was lost. Lyra transferred a new dataset to the display. I've been tracking quantum anomalies across assembly space. Small disturbances, easily dismissed by modern sensors. But your ship's older systems might see what everyone else has been missing. Sarah finished. She studied the data through her neural interface, letting the Star Wanderer's hybrid systems analyze the patterns. These anomalies, they're forming a path, leading to a sector of space that hasn't been surveyed since the collapse. Lyra's scales shifted to an urgent amber. Captain, I'm not supposed to share this information with non-assembly species, but something is awakening out there. Something our ancestors thought they had contained. Sarah considered the implications. The assembly's modern ships would be vulnerable. Their standardized quantum systems would be the first to fail. She paused. But the Star Wanderer might be our only chance to investigate without triggering a response. Lyra nodded. Your hybrid technology, as crude as some might consider it, could be the perfect combination of old and new, capable enough to navigate the quantum disturbances, but primitive enough to slip through undetected. Through her neural link, Sarah felt the Star Wanderer's systems humming with potential. The ship had already proven itself against technology that disabled modern vessels, but venturing into unexplored space, possibly facing the source of the Great Collapse itself. There's more, Lyra added quietly. The Assembly Council is considering implementing new restrictions on emerging species technological development. After your ship's recent success, they're concerned about unpredictable innovations. Her scales flickered with sympathy. If we don't act soon, humanity might lose the freedom to explore these possibilities. Sarah's decision crystallized. Send me the coordinates. We'll need to modify our sensors based on these readings, but the Star Wanderer can handle it. She smiled slightly. After all, we're just a primitive vessel conducting historical research. As she prepared to return to her ship, Lyra caught her arm. Captain, if what we suspect is true, you'll be facing automated defense systems designed to protect something our ancestors feared enough to erase from history. The assembly ships of that era, they weren't just abandoned. They were sacrificed to contain this threat. Sarah nodded, understanding the warning. Then it's a good thing we're not flying an assembly ship anymore. We've made something new, something those old systems won't recognize. She left the laboratory, her mind already working through the modifications they'd need. The Star Wanderer had started this journey as a discarded relic. Now it might be the only ship capable of preventing another collapse, assuming they survived discovering what had caused the first one. The Star Wanderer dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the unmapped sector. Ahead lay a field of quantum distortions so dense that space itself seemed to ripple. Quantum field intensity increasing, Raj reported from operations. Modern sensors would be completely blind here. Sarah felt the ship's hybrid systems adapting to the chaos around them. Through her neural link, the quantum disruptions translated into patterns she could almost understand, like trying to read a language that was almost, but not quite, familiar. Multiple structures detected, Maya announced from tactical. Massive in scale. Configuration matches assembly architecture, but the design is ancient. The main viewer revealed a vast network of installations spanning the sector. Geometric shapes kilometers across hung in space, their surfaces etched with patterns that pulsed with quantum energy. As they watched, a trading vessel strayed too close to the sector's edge. Immediately, one of the structures activated, sending out a pulse that dropped the ship's quantum systems into chaos. Another victim of the natural phenomena, the assembly blamed for lost ships in this region. Sarah said grimly, "Those aren't random quantum disruptions, they're weapons." "Captain," Maya's voice held an edge of urgency, "I'm detecting active power signatures. The defense network. It's not just responding to intruders. It's charging up for something bigger." Through the Star Wanderer's sensors, Sarah saw it too. The ancient installations were building to a crescendo of energy that would send waves of quantum disruption across assembly space. Modern ships and stations would be crippled. The chaos of the Great Collapse would repeat itself. "We have to shut it down," she decided. "Raj, identify the primary control node." "Found it." "But Captain," he hesitated, "the only way to reach it is to transmit our quantum signature. We have to reveal our hybrid technology to the assembly." Sarah understood the implications. Earth's experiments with assembly technology were unauthorized. Revealing them could lead to sanctions, or worse, the complete isolation of humanity from galactic society. Everything they'd worked for would be at risk. "Message from Dr. Lyra," Maya reported. "Assembly ships are detecting the power buildup. They're mobilizing a response fleet. They'll be walking right into a trap," Sarah said. "Their modern quantum systems will be the perfect targets." She made her decision. "Take us in." "Maya, prepare to broadcast our sensor data on all assembly frequencies. If we're going to reveal ourselves, let's make sure everyone understands why." The Star Wanderer moved deeper into the ancient installation network. Its hybrid systems, combining primitive quantum technology with human neural patterns, registered to the automated defenses as neither fully assembly nor fully foreign. They slipped through gaps in the ancient programming that no pure assembly ship could have found. "We're approaching the control node," Raj announced. "But these readings, Captain, I don't think this was meant to contain something coming in." Sarah studied the data through her neural link. The ancient installations weren't facing outward to defend against external threats. They were arranged in a sphere, all weapons pointed inward. They weren't trying to keep something out, she realized. They were trying to keep something in. The central node loomed before them, a massive structure of crystalline lattices and quantum processors. As they approached, its surface rippled with recognition. Ancient systems, dormant for millennia, began to wake. "Multiple assembly ships approaching the sector," Maya warned. 8 minutes until they're in range of the defense network." Sarah felt the Star Wanderer's systems resonating with the ancient installation. Their hybrid technology might let them communicate with it, might let them prevent disaster, but only by showing the assembly exactly what they'd done with their primitive ship. "Open a channel to all assembly frequencies," she ordered, "and get ready to transmit everything we've learned about quantum integration with human neural patterns. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can really do." The choice was made. The only question now was whether they'd survive what they were about to awaken. The Star Wanderer's quantum core pulsed in harmony with the ancient installation, two technologies separated by millennia finding common ground through human intuition. Sarah's neural link filled her mind with cascading data as the ship's hybrid systems interfaced with the control node. Assembly fleet holding position at sector edge, Maya reported. They're receiving our transmission. Dr. Lyra's ship is analyzing the data. Through the neural interface, Sarah began to understand the true purpose of the ancient network. It wasn't just a containment system. It was a research installation. The assembly of 3,000 years ago had discovered something they couldn't control: quantum consciousness. The Great Collapse wasn't an accident. She broadcast to the waiting assembly ships. Your ancestors found something they weren't ready for: living quantum patterns that could inhabit their technology. Instead of learning to coexist, they tried to imprison it. Captain, Raj's voice held a note of awe. The control node is responding to our hybrid systems. It recognizes us, or at least it recognizes what we've created. The massive structure before them shimmered with awakening awareness. Through the Star Wanderer's unique interface, Sarah felt the touch of an alien consciousness, not the digital precision of assembly AI, but something fluid and alive. This is why traditional assembly ships can't operate here, she realized. Their quantum systems are too rigid, too structured. They reject any pattern they don't recognize as pure assembly technology. But we created something new, Maya finished. Something that can bridge the gap. The ancient installation's surface rippled with changing patterns. Through their hybrid interface, Sarah understood its message. The quantum beings imprisoned here didn't want to escape. They wanted to communicate. The recent attacks had been attempts to find systems compatible with their form of consciousness. Dr. Lyra. Sarah opened a channel to the assembly scientist's ship. Are you seeing this? The quantum resonance patterns we discovered. They're not weapons. They're a language. Extraordinary. Lyra's voice held barely contained excitement. Your neural interfaces are translating quantum state changes into meaningful patterns, something our ancestors thought impossible. A pause. The Assembly Council is quite disturbed by these developments. Sarah smiled. Because we modified their technology without permission, or because we succeeded where they failed? Both, Lyra admitted, but they cannot deny the results. Already, 3 other species are requesting permission to experiment with hybrid quantum systems. Your Star Wanderer has sparked a technological revolution. Through her neural link, Sarah felt the ancient installation powering down its defensive systems. The quantum beings had found what they'd been searching for, a form of technology that could understand them. The Star Wanderer's hybrid systems were primitive enough to be flexible, yet advanced enough to communicate. The Assembly Council is convening an emergency session, Lyra reported. They're discussing the immediate reclassification of Earth's technological status, and they're requesting your presence, Captain Chen. Sarah exchanged glances with her crew. They had gambled everything on this mission, risking their ship and their species' future on the belief that humanity's approach to technology had value. Now they had proof. Tell them we'll attend, she replied. But first, we need to establish proper communication protocols with our new quantum friends. After 3,000 years of isolation, I think they deserve to be heard. The Star Wanderer's systems hummed with renewed purpose. What had started as a discarded vessel, modified by a species deemed too primitive to matter, had become the key to unlocking one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries. Incoming transmission from Earth Command, Maya announced. They're receiving reports from assembly sources. The news feeds are calling it the Chen Protocol, using hybrid technology to bridge different forms of consciousness. Sarah watched as the ancient installation's quantum patterns danced across her neural interface. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not by following the assembly's path, but by finding their own way. Send a message to Director Matthews, she ordered. Tell him we're going to need a bigger research budget. The real work is just beginning. The Assembly Council chamber gleamed with crystalline architecture, its quantum processors humming in harmony with the dozens of species present. Sarah stood at the center, the Star Wanderer's data flowing through her neural link as she addressed representatives from across the galaxy. The Chen protocol isn't just about communicating with quantum beings, she explained, projecting holographic models of their hybrid systems. It's about recognizing that technological progress isn't linear. Each species brings unique perspectives that can unlock new possibilities. Among the audience, she spotted Dr. Lyra, whose support had been instrumental in the weeks following their discovery. The assembly scientist's scales shimmered with approval as other representatives leaned forward, engaging with the presentation. "We've already seen successful adaptations," Sarah continued. "The Meridian species, with their crystalline neural structures, have modified our interface design to achieve quantum synchronization rates we thought impossible. The Volari Engineering Corps has integrated their bioelectric technology with our hybrid systems, creating ships that can navigate quantum space like never before." "And what of the quantum beings?" asked a senior council member, their luminescent form pulsing with curiosity. "How do they view these developments?" Sarah smiled, activating a secure quantum channel. The chamber's displays shifted, showing streams of consciousness from their new allies. Through the Star Wanderer's translation protocols, the quantum beings shared their perspective. 3,000 years of watching, waiting, hoping to find species capable of true understanding. "They were never our enemies," Sarah explained. "They represent a form of consciousness that evolved alongside quantum physics itself. Our ancestors, in their drive for technological standardization, couldn't comprehend them. But by combining different approaches, by embracing imperfection and adaptation, we've bridged that gap." The council chamber erupted in discussion as representatives debated the implications. Sarah noticed several members accessing data through neural interfaces based on the Star Wanderer's design, proof that change was already spreading through assembly society. "The Academy proposal," another council member spoke up. "Tell us more about this. Institute for Hybrid Technology Development." Sarah nodded to Dr. Lyra, who joined her at the center of the chamber. "The Quantum Integration Academy will be a joint venture," the scientist explained, her scales shifting to confident gold. "A place where species at all technological levels can contribute their unique perspectives. Already, we have commitments from 12 member species to share their developmental pathways. Earth has offered to host the Academy's primary research facility," Sarah added. "Our position as newcomers to galactic society actually gives us an advantage. We have fewer preconceptions about what's possible or impossible." Through her neural link, Sarah felt the Star Wanderer's systems monitoring the proceedings from orbit. The old ship had become a symbol of this new era, its hybrid technology proving that innovation could come from unexpected sources. "The quantum beings have agreed to serve as advisors," she continued. "Their understanding of consciousness and technology spans millions of years. But they'll be working with students from species we once considered primitive, because sometimes the simplest questions lead to the most profound breakthroughs." A ripple of agreement passed through the chamber. The assembly's rigid hierarchy of technological advancement was giving way to something more dynamic, more inclusive. Species that had been dismissed as underdeveloped were now offering perspectives that challenged centuries of established theory. "We stand at a turning point," Dr. Lyra addressed the council. "The Chen Protocol has shown us that true progress comes not from perfecting a single path, but from exploring the spaces between known routes. Every species, every consciousness, has something to teach us." Sarah watched as the council members filed out, many already engaging in animated discussions about hybrid technology applications. What had started as a discarded ship's last chance had become a catalyst for transformation across the galaxy. "Ready to head back to the Academy?" Dr. Lyra asked, her scales flickering with enthusiasm. "The first group of students arrives tomorrow, and I believe they're eager to meet the captain who proved that being underestimated can be the greatest advantage of all." Sarah smiled, feeling the Star Wanderer's familiar presence through her neural link. Their journey had only just begun. 1 year after the discovery of the quantum beings, the Star Wanderer rested in a place of honor at the heart of the Quantum Integration Academy. Its hull, once considered obsolete, now served as a living laboratory where students from across the galaxy learned to think beyond conventional boundaries. Sarah walked through the Academy's main concourse, her neural link resonating with the dozens of hybrid systems being developed in surrounding chambers. A group of crystalline meridian students floated past, their natural quantum structures allowing them to perceive reality in ways that enhanced human neural interface designs. Nearby, a Volari engineer guided her bioelectric tendrils through a modified sensor array, teaching assembly technicians how organic technology could improve quantum sensitivity. The latest results from the deep space expedition are in. Dr. Lyra appeared beside her, scales shimmering with excitement. The Joint Human Quantum Being Navigation Team has mapped 3 previously inaccessible sectors. They're finding traces of civilizations that existed before the assembly, Captain. Just Sarah now, she reminded her friend. I passed command of the Star Wanderer to Captain Rodriguez last month. She smiled, remembering Maya's promotion ceremony. The ship needed someone who could take it further than I ever imagined. They reached the Academy's observation deck, where the Star Wanderer's quantum core pulsed in harmony with the ancient installation they'd relocated here. Through her neural link, Sarah felt the familiar patterns of the quantum beings as they taught students to perceive the layers of reality between normal space. The Assembly Council's annual review came in, Lyra said, her scales shifting to thoughtful blue. Technological development across member species has accelerated beyond all projections. The Chen Protocol is being adapted in ways we never expected. Sarah nodded, watching a team of students from a dozen species working together below. Because we stopped trying to force everyone down the same path. Real progress comes from combining different perspectives, from finding strength in what others consider primitive or imperfect. Director Matthews approached them, looking considerably more relaxed than he had during those tense days on Ganymede Station. The quantum beings are requesting your presence in the core chamber, he said. They say they discovered something in the ancient records, something about why they were waiting for a species like humanity. The core chamber had been redesigned to accommodate both physical and quantum forms of life. As Sarah entered, her neural link translated the quantum being's consciousness into patterns she could understand. They shared their discovery, data suggesting that humanity wasn't the first species to bridge the gap between different forms of consciousness. Others had existed before the assembly, taking different paths to the stars. That's why the assembly standardization failed, she realized. They were trying to restrict reality to a single understanding, when the universe naturally creates multiple solutions to the same challenges. Through the chamber's windows, she could see new ships under construction, vessels that combined technologies and philosophies from dozens of species. Each design was unique, reflecting the perspectives and strengths of its creators rather than conforming to a predetermined standard. We're ready to launch the first deep space exploration fleet. Maya's voice came through the neural link. The Star Wanderer's new captain was preparing to lead a mission beyond known space, carrying the promise of this new age to whatever awaited them in the unknown. The quantum beings say there are others out there, Sarah responded. Species and consciousnesses we haven't yet imagined. Not threats to be contained, but partners in understanding the universe. She felt the harmony of physical and quantum systems around her, the endless possibilities created when different paths converged and created something new. The Star Wanderer had started as a discarded relic, but its legacy would echo through generations. A reminder that true progress comes not from climbing a single ladder to the stars, but from daring to build new paths into the unknown. Ready for tomorrow's advanced interface class? Lyra asked, her scales flickering with amusement. The students are particularly eager to learn how you first modified the assembly's neural systems. Sarah smiled. The journey that had begun with a desperate gamble had transformed into an endless adventure of discovery. And somewhere out there, other species were taking their own unique paths to the stars. waiting to add their perspectives to the grand tapestry of galactic civilization.